Welcome to English on the Road, an English podcast for English learners. This is episode 2 of English on the Road. I'm your host, Louis English Online. In this episode, we will talk about the 10 largest countries in the world by land area. And this is an interesting topic because I think most people can guess the first 4 or 5 largest countries in the world by land area. But numbers 5 through 10 may be more surprising, or it may not be surprising, but perhaps you had just never considered it before. And if you are from any of the countries which I mentioned, I would love to hear your comments below. For each country, I will give you some interesting facts about the country's geography. Remember, English on the Road is a podcast for English learners, but we focus on topics of geography, nature, and travel. For each country on the list, I will also talk about what I consider to be one of the most interesting animals from that country. And I considered starting from 1, the largest country, that is, and going down to 10, because, it gives people what they want right away. They say, what are the largest countries? I'll tell you, 1, 2, 3, 4. But on second thought, I realized it might be better to start at 10, the 10th largest country, and work my way up to 1. So that is to say, I will start at 10 and then go 9, 8, 7. So if you want to hear what is the largest country in the world, you'll have to listen to the whole podcast, or maybe if you skip to the end, you could get lucky. So having said all of that, I would just like to start and tell you the 10th largest country in the world by land area is Algeria. Algeria. And so Algeria is known for its diverse geography, ranging from the Atlas Mountains in the north to the Sahara Desert in the south. So this is a country in North Africa, bordered by many, many different countries. I have the list here. Maybe I'll read the list of all the countries Algeria borders: Tunisia, Libya, Mali, Niger, Western Sahara, Morocco, and the Mediterranean Sea. I mentioned Western Sahara and the Mediterranean Sea. Of course, those are not countries. Those are just geographical features. What else is interesting about the geography of Algeria is its fertile soil. So when I say fertile soil, I mean that it is a great place to grow plants. So Algeria is one of the largest producers of wheat, barley, and olive oil. We all love our olive oil. It's good for you. It's a great alternative to some of the other oils out there. However, it is a little bit expensive, of course. And how about the animal? I mentioned that I will tell you what I think to be an interesting animal from each country. For Algeria, we have the fennec fox. The fennec fox. This is a very small and cute little fox. They grow up to 40 centimeters in length. 40 centimeters. Can you imagine such a little fox? But they have really big ears. They have huge ears. They also have a lot of adaptations to help them live in the desert. For example, they have thick fur to protect them from the sun. And their kidneys are highly efficient at conserving water. This means they don't have to drink a lot of water to survive. So this animal is not too well known, so if you don't know it, go check out a picture of the fennec fox. Okay, and if anyone listening is from Algeria, please leave a comment and tell us about the geography of your country. I'm sure we will all be interested to hear from someone who is actually from there. I mean, I'm just speaking on the internet here. I have a keen interest in geography, but I haven't been to all these countries. And number 9, the 9th largest country in the world, is Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan. So this country is slightly bigger than Algeria. And an interesting fact about the geography of Kazakhstan is that it is the largest landlocked country in the world. So what does that mean, landlocked? Well, a landlocked country is a country that does not have any ocean on its borders. So Kazakhstan is surrounded by other countries and no oceans. But they do have the Caspian Sea, which is partially located in Kazakhstan. But the Caspian Sea is the largest landlocked body of water. So that means that it's considered a sea, it's called a sea, but it is surrounded by land. So Kazakhstan is a landlocked country. The Caspian Sea is a landlocked sea. Interesting. And Kazakhstan has a rich variety of animals and plants. I might say flora and fauna. This is a different way to say plants and animals, more of a scientific way. Flora means plants, and fauna means animals. So they have antelope, which is a beautiful type of deer. And they have the steppe eagle, a beautiful eagle. If you've seen the flag of Kazakhstan, you might have noticed there is an eagle on it. And I think that's great. The animal I want to highlight from Kazakhstan is the snow leopard. So snow leopards are found in the high mountain ranges of the country. And they are perfectly adapted to a snowy environment high in the mountains. This is because they have thick fur, large paws, and a long tail to help them balance when they're climbing these snowy mountains. They look quite beautiful. When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I watched those documentaries called Planet Earth. The narrator was David Attenborough. Maybe you've seen those. And I remember the snow leopard scene, and I thought to myself, wow, that is my favorite animal in the world. It is just so beautiful. They are mysterious. They're hard to find. They're sometimes called the ghosts of the mountains. What is the 8th largest country in the world? Argentina. Argentina is slightly bigger than Kazakhstan. And what is the geography of Argentina known for? Well, there's a region of Argentina called Patagonia. This is famous for its rugged wilderness. Rugged. If you don't know that word, you could look it up. Rugged. Rugged. Rugged wilderness. And Patagonia is home to some of the largest glaciers in the world. Glaciers. Well, that's beautiful. I've seen videos of Patagonia. People go hiking there, and apparently I've heard it's one of the best or most beautiful natural areas in the world. They also have a desert in the north called the Atacama Desert. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything, but they say the Atacama Desert is one of the driest places on Earth. And it's known for its mineral deposits, minerals like salt, calcium. What are some other minerals that you could find in a desert? And also in Patagonia, there's a national park called Los Alerces. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but they have these cypress trees that are over 2,000 years old. Can you imagine a 2,000-year-old tree? The animal I want to highlight for Argentina is the puma. Puma. It's our second big cat in a row. Pumas, they are also known as mountain lions or cougars, native to the Americas, north and south. They are the largest species of cat therein. They are solitary. They don't live in groups. So if someone is solitary, it means they do not live in a group. They have a large territory. They will often hunt and live alone. So if anyone listening is from Argentina, Kazakhstan, or Algeria, please share with us so we could learn more about the geography of your country. We'll move on to number 7 in just 1 minute. I just need to take a short break. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back with number 7. The 7th largest country in the world by land area is India. India. An interesting geographical feature of India are the Himalayan mountains. These are the tallest mountains in the world, and they are located in northern India. India is also home to over 400 rivers. And the biggest and most famous is the Ganges River. And the south of India is surrounded by some bodies of water, the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. So, a point of interest for an English learner perhaps are the different words we use for bodies of water: bays, oceans, and seas. There are slight differences between all these things, but that would be something you'd have to look up yourself. I don't know off the top of my head. And the animal for India, the Asian elephant. Now, the Asian elephant is a little bit smaller than the African elephant. They can reach a height of up to around 10 to 15 feet when they're standing. But they're very heavy animals. And Asian elephants are social. So you can remember those big cats, they are solitary, but the elephants are social. They live in groups, and a group of elephants is called a herd. Herd, a herd of elephants. And that group can consist of up to 100 elephants. Elephants have strong family connections, will stay together for their entire life. That's quite beautiful, the family aspect to all of this. Elephants are very intelligent and emotional. Number 6. What is the 6th largest country in the world? Well, this one is the first country where we see a pretty big jump in the size. So India is 3.2 million kilometers squared. And the next one is 7.7 million kilometers squared. So we see a big jump in the size. And this is, you guessed it, Australia. Australia is home to the largest coral reef system in the world, the Great Barrier Reef. If you've ever seen videos of the Great Barrier Reef, you'll notice colorful plants and animals, and just quite a beautiful scene. You can go snorkeling or scuba diving there. And the middle of the country is often called the outback, the Australian outback. And according to what I've heard, the outback is one of the harshest and most remote environments in the world. That is to say, it's difficult to survive there. And it's just so big and so vast. And Australia has relatively few people that we could say it is remote. 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 So one animal I would like to highlight here is the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine. It's called a thylacine. This is an animal that is believed to have gone extinct in the 1930s. So we don't know, it's technically extinct, but I've heard wildlife experts say that there are stories of the thylacine being seen. There may be a couple of them left. But this is a beautiful marsupial tiger, or marsupial cat. So marsupial is a kind of species such as a kangaroo, which has a pouch. I don't know if the thylacine has a pouch, but it's a marsupial species. And these are some of the beautiful animals that are unique to Australia. And as I said, I don't know if the thylacine is completely extinct or if there are a couple of them left in the wild. You can do some research on that. So we get into the top 5 largest countries in the world by land area, with number 5, Brazil. Brazil is 8.5 million kilometers squared. And as you may know, the Amazon rainforest covers 60% of Brazil and is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. Home to countless species of plants and animals, or we could say home to a huge variety of flora and fauna. The country is home to many major rivers, including the Amazon River, which is the largest river in the world by the volume of water. So it's not the longest river, but it's the largest by measurement of the volume of water, or the amount. When we're talking about the amount of water, we usually say the volume of water. And it's bordered by 8 countries. Many countries share the border with Brazil. And then on the eastern side of Brazil is the Atlantic Ocean. And the animal I would like to highlight for this country is the anaconda, a very, very large snake that lives in Brazil. And there are legends about how large it can get. But I think the largest one ever confirmed to exist was around 30 feet. But some people believe they can get much bigger than that. And anacondas, they actually spend a lot of their time in the water. They're very good at swimming, and they can hunt in the water, and they also can hide from predators. Although I'm not sure what predators they have. They're such a large snake. But anacondas, to me, they're a little bit scary. I find it a bit frightening to imagine that a snake so large can exist out there. And it's so good at hiding that you could be walking through the jungle and the snake could be right beside you. You would never know. So I think you heard me say they are frightening. So frightening is another word for scary. It's a synonym of scary. Okay, the 4th largest country in the world is the United States of America. This one is 9.4 million kilometers squared. Now, the US has a very fascinating geography because it has such a large diversity of landscapes. You have you have like more tropical landscapes down in Florida, but and then on the West Coast you have like deserts, and in the north you have snowy like landscapes with a lot of forests. So it has a very wide diversity of landscapes. And it's home to many national parks, which you may have heard of, like the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, and Yosemite. And I like the name of this one, the Great Smoky Mountains. And the animal I want to highlight here is the American bison. The American bison. That's bison, bison. So the American bison once roamed the grasslands of North America from Alaska to Mexico. But today, there are not as many of them as there used to be. I believe they almost went extinct in the previous century, but thankfully their populations have recovered, and they live in conservation areas, national parks, as well as on private ranches or private land. And the American bison have been part of the cultural and spiritual heritage of many Native American tribes for thousands of years. They are also a food source for these tribes and played an important role in the economies. And I think I may have eaten bison once or twice. And from what I know, the people who eat bison, they say it is the best. It's one of the best meats to eat. I'm not saying you should eat it, but just conveying the information that I have. Okay, number 3 is China, 9.7 million kilometers squared. A very large country. So China has a very long river called the Yangtze River. It is the third longest in the world. Third longest. And it's home to the world's largest desert, which is surprising to me. I didn't know that. Taklamakan Desert. I might have to double check that. I'm not sure exactly what is the world's largest desert. But an interesting point about this information, when I was preparing this podcast and this list, do you know how I got these interesting facts? I had to do some research. Like, I didn't know all of these things before I started. But I used the new OpenAI feature called Chat GPT. I typed into Chat GPT, please tell me interesting facts about China's geography. And it gave me this information. And the animal for China is the giant panda. So giant pandas are an endangered species. And in the wild, they say there's around 2,000 pandas remaining. But there are many living in zoos around the world. But the pandas, their diet is mostly bamboo. They eat about 99% of their diet is bamboo. They can eat up to 60 pounds of bamboo in a day. They must have very tough stomachs to be eating all that bamboo. Okay, we've arrived at number 2. Do you know what is the second largest country in the world? It is my home country of Canada. So here are some features of the geography of Canada. The Great Lakes, which are shared between Canada and the US, are the largest group of freshwater lakes in the world. So it's not the biggest lake, but it's the largest group. There are 5 Great Lakes: Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, and Lake Superior. And Canada has over 2 million lakes. So it's the country that has the most lakes in the world by far. If you go up to northern Ontario, you'll be blown away. Just open the map, the Google Maps, find Ontario, go to northern Ontario, and just zoom in on the map. You'll see it's all lakes. It's lakes everywhere. Another interesting geographical fact about Canada is that it has the longest coastline of any country in the world. Coastline is the area where land meets sea. That's called the coast. And so the coastline is the amount of coast a country has. Canada has the longest coastline of any country in the world. It's because it's bordered by 3 oceans. And the animal we can highlight here is the polar bear. The polar bear. Interesting fact about this animal: since it lives on floating sheets of ice in the ocean and doesn't spend a lot of time on like the actual rocky land, they are considered a marine mammal. Marine means ocean. So although they don't really like live in the water, they live on the water. And I think that's an interesting fact about polar bears. So, yeah, polar bears are beautiful animals, but a little bit scary because, they're really not afraid of people, as far as I understand. And that brings us to number one. The largest country in the world by far is Russia. I told you, I think I mentioned Canada has 10 million kilometers squared. Russia has 17 million kilometers squared. So it's definitely the largest. And here are some interesting geographical features. Russia is home to the world's deepest lake, Lake Baikal, which is over 1,700 meters deep and contains 20% of the world's fresh water. Wow, that's amazing. 20% of the world's fresh water. You see some of these facts that you get from the internet and you just think, is that true? That sounds like a lot. But as I said before, I used ChatGPT, so I think for the most part, people trust the information coming from there is accurate. And Russia has the world's largest forest called the taiga. That covers a lot of the country and is home to bears, wolves, and lynx. In fact, the animals which live in Russia are similar to the animals that live in Canada. And the animal we can highlight for Russia is the Siberian tiger. So, Siberian tigers have a distinctive orange coat with black stripes, and their stomach and legs are white. But I've also seen some Siberian tigers that are white and black with no yellow or no orange. And they're the largest cat species in the world. Bigger than lions, bigger than pumas, the Siberian tiger. So there you have it. And if you're from any of these countries, leave a comment to tell us about your geography, because that's the interesting thing about this community is that we are filled with people from all over the world, and we're all trying to learn English and just, practice English. Maybe you already know English. And we can connect with each other and share knowledge and just share interesting facts about our country's geography and nature. And that's what we want to do on the podcast, English on the Road. Geography, travel, and nature. Those are the themes. And just to recap, let me read the countries again. I'll go the other way this time. So, the largest country is Russia. Number 2, Canada. 3, China. 4, the United States. 5, Brazil. 6, Australia. 7, India. 8, Argentina. 9, Kazakhstan. 10, Algeria. The 10 largest countries in the world by land area from English on the Road. Again, I'm your host, Louis English Online. I'm going to try to turn this into a weekly podcast, a weekly program, because I posted one episode almost a year ago in April 2022. You may wonder why I've waited so long to post another episode. There's no reason in particular, but the first episode had a pretty good reception, so I hope that there's an interest in geography and nature. That's the main point here. Even though I'm an English teacher, and this is a podcast for English learners, I just think geography and nature are so important and we should talk about it. And I find it very interesting to do this research. So, what should I talk about next week? If you want to leave a comment below, that would be great. If not, I'm sure I can think of something myself. And that is the end of today's program. Thank you for listening, if you listened this far. It's a great way to improve your English by listening to a podcast. So, until we meet again, goodbye.